Hey everyone, welcome to this session where we are diving deep into React hooks, one of the most powerful features introduced in React 16. Hooks allow us to use state and other React features without writing class components. Sound amazing, right? Let's break it down step by step with simple explanation and hands-on example. So first of all, what are React hooks? React hooks are functions that let you hook into React state and lifecycle feature in functional components. Before hooks, managing states and lifecycle method required class component, but now hooks make functional components even more powerful and easier to use. Let's start with most commonly used hook. So first we have here use state hook. So it's managing states in function components. The use state hook allow components to store and update state. Now you can see here is the examples of counter using use state. Now here is the syntax. Now you can see here we import a react use state for react. Now here we have a counter functions, and here we use a parameter like count and set count. Now you can see here we use a use state. Now you can see here we return a count or a button, two buttons increment and one for a decrement. Now here we export default counter. So how it's work? It's a use state 0, initialize the state with 0. The count stores the current state value, and the set count updates the state triggering a re-render. Now we copy this code and here we paste it, and now we save this, and here we use a counter. I can see here we use a counter. Now it's a component, we remove before one. Now we save this. Now you can see here we have a increment and decrement button here, and here we have a count. So when we increase, now you can see it's give me a 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and if we click on a decrease button, now you can see it's remove -1 5 3 2 1 0. Then the second is use effect hook, handling side effects. Now in a use effect is used for fetching data, setting up in event listeners, or working with the DOM inside a React component. Here is the examples like fetching data using use effect. Now you can see here we have import, here we React use state and use effect from React. Now you can see here we have a functions like user list, and here we use a use state. Now you can see here we use a use effect functions. Here we fetching a URL like JSON placeholder. Now we copy this URL and paste it in our browser. Now you can see here what we have. We have a user list here. You can see we have a API like API. We have a JSON data here. Now you can see here is the name, username, email ID, address, suit, city, zip code. It's a dummy data. Now how it works, a use effect runs after the component mounts the empty dependency array, ensure it's run only once. The fetch data updates the user state. I can see here we have a don response.json. Here we have a data set user. Here we have a data. Now here we return user map.user, and we have a key value pair like a user ID and username. Now we copy this code. You can see here it's a perfect. Now we save this. Now here we use a like a user list. Now we use a user list here. Now we remove the first one. Now we save this. Now you can see what we have here. We have a names of that list. Now you can see here we have a list of name. If we want to get some another things, like we have here name, data, JSON. Now here we use a username. Now we save this. Now here you can see here it's fetch a username. Now the next is use effect with dependency. We can control when use effect runs again by adding dependency. Here is the example, rerun use effects when state changes. Now here we have a count function. Now you can see here we have a functions. Now import use state like a timer. Here we have a time update, and here we use a time, and here we have a function app. Inside the function app we use a set time method. Now you can see here we have a function update time, and you can see when I click on button it's update and increase the time. Now we copy this code, comment this code. Now you can see here we have the code. Now we update this. Now you can see in the output, now you can see here we have a time 0. Now we have to click on this, increase the time. It's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Now the next is cleaning up side effects. To avoid memory leaks, we must clean up effects when a component's unamounts. Here is the examples like cleaning up an interval. Now you can see here we use a import from React. Now here we use a set count. Here we use a set timeout method. It's on a 1000 millisecond. Now you can see here, and here we clean up when component unamounts. Now here is the examples. In this example, clear interval, stop the timer when the component unamounts. Now we copy this code. Now you can see here we have a function timer, and here we use a use effect function. Now you see interval, set interval. Here we use a set count, pre count, and here 1000. Now you can see we save this. What will be happen here? Now you can see it's update timer. It's update timer 1 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11. I can see here is updated every once. Now the other important hooks here, we have a use context. It's avoid prop dealing. A use context helps share state between components without passing props manually. Now here is the example of theme context. Now here you can see here we import a React use context from React. Now here we use a theme context React light and theme component theme context, like we use here we give a value like dark. Now here with the theme component and theme context provider. Now in this example, use context theme context retrieves the current theme. Now we copy this code, we save this. I can see here is the dark theme. Now the next is use ref. It's accessing DOM elements without ref re-renders. Here is the examples of auto facing focusing and input field. Now you can see here we have a user ref use effect. Now here is the input focus. Now here we use the use ref null. Now we copy this code, and here we paste it in our greeting.js. We paste this, save this. Now you can see here we have a user list. Now we want here input focus. Now we change this input focus, we save this. Now you can see here we are automatically it's a focus. Refresh. Now you can see it's automatically a focus. Then the next is use reducer manage complex state logic. Here we managing a complex state logic, and here is the examples. Now you can see counter with use reducer. Here we use a switch case. Now you can see here we have an increment, and here we have a decrement, and here we have a counter. You can see here we have a dispatch values, like now you can see. So in this example, use reducer helps manage state updates in a structured way. Now we copy this whole code and paste it in our code editor. Now we save this, and here we use a counter. Now first of all we, okay, it's fine. Here we remove this, and here we use a counter. We remove first one. Now we save this. Now you can see here is the counter example. Now we first increase, and here is the decrease. Now here is the conclusion. First is a use state, it's manage local states, and the second is a use effect, it's a handle side effects, and the third is use context, and use ref and use reducer, it's offer advanced state management options. I hope you found this session helpful. If you have any question, feel free to ask in the comment. Keep smiling and happy coding. Thank you.